Okay, take your warm up and look at it in front of you. Over to the right, there is a graph. It's about lake water temperature. On the y-axis is the water temperature. Along the x-axis is the depth below the surface. So, it says Karina took measurements of the water temperature at various depths in a lake and put them in a scatter plot. Write an equation of the line of best fit. State your two ordered pairs. So the first thing is, remember, you're not just picking random ordered pairs. You are never going to pick ordered pairs that are not on the line of best fit. So hopefully none of you picked any of these ordered pairs. Next, you're going to look at your ordered pairs. I'm going to pick this one here. That is the ordered pair. Not 28, sorry. That is the ordered pair 828. And let's see, I'm going to pick this ordered pair because it looks like it's in the middle of 44 and 46. So I'm going to pick 346. Now there's some other ordered pairs you could have chose. If you saw this one up here, that looks like it's at 058. And this one here looks like it's about at 39. But as long as you pick two of those four ordered pairs that I just circled, you are okay. So remember, a line of best fit is an approximation. And at this point, you would put it in stat in your calculator. So your equation, if you use the same as mine, would be the same, but if you did it, it will be slightly different. So remember, we're going to use approximate signs. This is negative 3.6x plus 56.8. And I rounded mine to the nearest tenth. When it says interpret the slope meaning in a sentence and be specific, you know this has to be about water temperature and depth below the surface. Okay? When you interpret slope, slope is always the y value over the x's. So first off, this line is falling. So some negative word has to be in here. This is about the temperature. We're going to start off with the temperature of the lake water Why am I starting with the word temperature? Because temperature is what y is. The temperature of the lake water, I'm going to say, decreases 3.6 degrees every meter. It's not every hour because this is the depth below the surface. So the x is, if we go over here, is in meters. So degrees, meters. The temperature of the lake water decreases 3.6 degrees every meter. Now, if yours is slightly different than mine, you would have a different number there and it would be acceptable. It says interpret the y-intercept meaning in a sentence. Be specific. So let's write the y-intercept. The y-intercept would be 0, 56.8. This would mean the lake water at the surface, because remember this is about going down. So this starts the lake water at the surface, is 56.8 degrees. Now you don't have to write it word for word like me, but something that talks about the lake water at the surface being 56.8 degrees. The next question says, use the line of best fit equation. Remember when it says that, you're going to go and you're going to put it in y equals. You don't have to show work here. to predict the temperature at a depth of 3.5 meters. Now depth is x. Your work would be, I'm going to write x equals 3.5. Remember, you're going to put your equation in y equals. You're going to go to your table. If you have the same equation as me, the answer in the y column is 44.2, and that represents degrees. However, if your equation is slightly different than mine, it will be a slightly different answer. Letter E, use the line of best fit equation. Once again, you have your equation in y equals. You're going to predict the water temperature at a depth of 15 meters below the surface. So you're going to write x equals 15. You're going to scroll on your calculator, and this says approximately 2.8 degrees. All right. Question number 2. A baseball coach graphs some data and finds the line of best fit. The equation for the line of best fit is y equals 0.32x minus 20.51, where x is the number of times at bat. X is the number of times at bat. Y is the number of hits. How many hits should you expect from a player who is at bat 175 times? So remember, you're going to go to y equals. You're going to change that last equation. You're going to put in 0.32x minus 20.51. You're going to look for x to be 175. Remember, you can do that little trick where you go to second window and you set your table at 175 if you want, if you don't want to scroll. And when you scroll, you get the y is 35 hits. Okay? Let's go to the back. It says a high school principal wants to predict the number of students who will drop out of school so he can get funding for support services. There's a table over here. Notice I noticed dates. Remember, you cannot use dates when you're using stat. It says he determined the equation that represents his data, so he already gave you the equation. It says where x represents the year since 2004, y is the number of students who drop out. Use this equation to help predict the number of students who will drop out in 2012. So remember, when there are dates, you take the predicted year, 2002, that's the predicted year, and you're always going to subtract the start year. And the start year was 2004. That's the start year. When you subtract those, you get 8, and that represents x. So you use the equation y equals negative 10x plus 216. You'll go into your table, you look for x equals 8, and the answer is 136 students. The next one, keyboarding instructor at a community college collected data comparing a student's age and their typing speed. The equation for the line was given. Once again, if it's given to you, use it. Where x is the age in years and y is the typing speed. If you are 25 years of age, that would represent x. So you're going to go to your table. After you type in y equals negative 1.4x plus 117.8. You're going to look for x equals 25. And that answer is 83 words per minute. And the last question is a visual representation. So this question states, the graph shows the weights of dogs and the time it took the dogs to complete an agility course in seconds. Which shows the line of best fit? All right. So over here to the right, I'm going to put a few things. Lines of best fit should go through the middle of the data. When it goes through the middle of the data, you should have equal points to the best of your ability above and below the line. The line does not have to start. Line does not have to start at 0, 0. So remember that. So I'm going to go down here to D and cross this off. A lot of people think when you say the middle of the data, it's the middle of the coordinate plane. No, that does not make any sense. So if it has to go through the middle of the data and there has to be equal points above and below, if I look at letter B, if I look down here, there is no data points. That means this line of best fit did not go through the middle. So it's not B. So if you look at A and C, the only one that makes sense is letter C. And the reason it is not letter A is because when you look, again, there is no data points up here. So remember, it should go through the line of best fit. There has to be points above and below. This is the best choice for all 4 of those. So now you're going to work on your study guide independently. Make sure you're reading. Don't just go through and type things in. You have to pay attention to what the questions are stating. I would clear the memory on your calculator one last time before you start, because tomorrow is your test.